Voicing. All sounds can be grouped into voiced or voiceless or unvoiced. Voicing is concerned with the vibration of the vocal folds. To tell if a sound is voiced or voiceless, touch your throat gently. When you say a voiced sound, you can feel a vibration or buzzing in your throat. For example, when we say z, there is a vibration, but when we say s, there is no vibration. All vowels are voiced sounds. Sonorants are also voiced. Sonorants are nasals, and ng, liquids, la and ra, and semivowels, w and y. Some obstruents are also voiced, which are b, d, g, v, th, z, j, and j. The rest of the obstruents are voiceless. Pa, ta, ka, fa, tha, sa, sha, cha, and ha. In fact, almost all obstruents have a pair of sounds that have an identical place and manner of articulation but differ in voicing. These are the pairs that differ only in voicing. B and p, d and t, g and k, v and f, tha and th, z and s, ja and sha, ja and cha. Each pair sound is produced exactly the same way except for voicing. The voiceless sound, ha, has no voiced counterpart. Voicing for grammar. In the history of the English language, voicing was used for grammar purposes, such as to change the part of speech and to make a plural noun form. Regarding the change of the part of speech, voicing can change a noun into a verb or an adjective into a verb. From noun to verb. These are examples where voicing was used to make a noun to a verb. From fa to va. Belief, believe. Life, live. Proof, prove. Strife, strive. Thief, thieve. Half, have. Safe, save. Grief, grieve. From th to the. Bath, bathe. Breath, breathe. Mouth, mouth. To move lips. Sheath, sheathe. Wreath, wreathe. Loath, loathe. Teeth, teeth. For a baby to grow teeth. From s to z. Abuse, abuse. House, house. Misuse, misuse. Excuse, excuse. Use, use. In the examples with from s to z, the noun and verb forms have the same spelling but differ in voicing. From adjective to verb. In the following examples, the adjective and verb form have the same spelling but differ in voicing. From s to z. Close, close. Diffuse, diffuse. From singular to plural. Voicing was also used to make the plural noun forms, as these examples show. Knife, knives. Leaf, leaves. Wife, wives. The following words in their singular forms end with the th sound, but in their plural forms, they can be pronounced either voiced, ths, or voiceless, ths. For instance, bath can be said either as baths or baths. These are such words: bath, baths, baths. Mouth, mouths, mouths. Oath, oaths, oaths. Path, paths, paths. Truth, truths, truths. Youth, youths, youths. Voice assimilation. When we consider each phoneme independently, we can decide whether the sound is voiced or voiceless. While there is this canonical distinction between voiced and voiceless consonants, this distinction is not always kept in actual speech situations. As a non-native speaker, you must have been taught to pronounce have to for the phrase have to, and used to for the phrase used to. You might have wondered why, since the v in have to is a voiced phoneme sound, and used alone is pronounced as used. The reason is the phenomenon called the assimilation of voice. Assimilation is a phonological process where sounds change to adapt to neighboring sounds. Assimilation happens for various reasons, like an assimilation in manner or place. And an assimilation in voice means neighboring sounds agree in voicing. The assimilation of voice happens because the vibration of the vocal cords is not something that can be switched on and off very swiftly. So, in a cluster of consonants differing in voicing, the consonants have to be either all voiced or all voiceless. This means that the same sound can be voiced or voiceless depending on the influence of its phonological environment. It also means that a voiceless consonant phoneme can become voiced, and a voiced consonant phoneme can become voiceless in the actual speech environment. Consider, for example, these two sounds, his dog and his pet. The D in dog is a voiced sound, so the S in his dog is assimilated to the voiced Z sound. By contrast, the P in pet is a voiceless sound, so the P in his pet is assimilated to the voiceless S sound. With this knowledge, we can understand why have to and used to are pronounced as have to and used to. The voiced V and Z in have to and used to, respectively, are followed by a voiceless consonant ta. In this situation, V and Z become voiceless f and s. Voicing of s or es. Knowing whether a sound is voiced or voiceless is especially useful to pronounce grammar particles like s, es, ed, which we use to indicate plurality, possessiveness, and tense. How these grammar particles sound depends on the last sound of the word the particles are attached to. When the last sound is voiced, the grammar particle is also voiced. And when the last sound is voiceless, the grammar particle is also voiceless. That is, the voice of grammar particles follows the basic principle of the assimilation of voice. Consonants in a cluster should be either all voiced or all voiceless. An exception to this rule is that, when the last sound is similar to the grammar particle sound, one syllable is added to the word. Let's examine these rules in detail. The pronunciation rule for grammar suffix s or es is that, when the final sound of the word is unvoiced, then the suffix s will also be unvoiced, as it is pronounced as s. For example, consider the word chip. P is an unvoiced consonant sound, so the plural will be an unvoiced sound as well, as chips. When the last sound of the word has any of the following unvoiced consonants, p, t, k, f, th, the suffix s should sound s. For example, books, boots, boots, cloths. By contrast, when the last sound of the word is voiced, then the suffix s is pronounced z. The sound is voiced if the word ends with a vowel sound or a sonorant. It is also voiced with any of the following voiced consonants: b, d, g, v, th. For example, dogs, lions, boys, girls, clothes. Sibilants are exceptions to this rule. Sibilants are sa, za, sha, ja, cha, and ja. When the final sound of a word is a sibilant, the plural is made by adding an es and making the sound is. For example, wishes, buses, garages, ages, and boxes. Voicing of ed. The pronunciation rule for ed for verb tense is similar. There are 3 ways. If the verb base ends in a voiceless sound except for the t, that is, voiceless obstruents pa, ka, fa, tha, sa, sha, cha, and ha, the ed ending sounds like t. T is blended together with the previous consonant as a consonant cluster. So t is not pronounced as an extra syllable. For example, picked, hoped, raced, watched, washed, worked, dropped, finished, stopped, laughed, coughed. If the verb base ends in a voiced sound except for d, then the ed ending sounds like d. So, to have the sound da, the word should end with a vowel sound, a nasal un, a liquid la, ra, a semivowel w, y, or a voiced obstruent ba, g, v, the, z, zh, j. Like the case of t, the ed is blended together with the previous consonant and is not pronounced as an extra syllable. These are examples: moved, returned, stayed, studied, married, raised, engaged, traveled. And finally, if the verb base ends in a t or d sound already, then the ed ending sounds like id or ud. It is pronounced as an extra syllable. For example, started, graduated, visited, separated, dated, attended. Consonant dropping in clusters. The above grammar particles in some situations create consonant clusters. Consonant clusters are 2 or more consonants next to each other in a word. Pronouncing consonant clusters can be challenging, even for English natives. While we should try to pronounce them all, in some situations it is also acceptable to omit one of the consonants. When there are 3 or more consonants in a row at the end of a syllable, the middle one can be dropped in most cases. The first and the last consonant may not be dropped. This is especially the case when the last one is a grammar particle. Without the particle, the sentence will not make sense. The dropping of the middle consonant sound happens most often when the middle consonant is a stop. Pa, ba, ta, da, ka, ga. For example, hands, hands, tests, tests or tests, asked, asked or asked, camped, camped. With the th consonant cluster, as in the word months, we can just omit the th sound. We should not omit the final s, since it is a necessary grammar particle. So we can say months, months, months or months, sixths, sixths or six, twelfths, twelfths or twelfths, thousandths, thousandths or thousands. The same is true with ths. We can omit the, but not z. For example, clothes can be pronounced clothes. When th is omitted, clothes and clothes can become homophones. Prefortis clipping. In American English, the length of vowel sound is not an intrinsic feature of a vowel. Rather, the length is determined by the neighboring sounds. Specifically, the length is shorter before a voiceless consonant and longer before voiced sound. This phenomenon, in linguistics, is called Prefortis clipping. The term fortis amounts to voiceless sound, and clipping means shortening. So, Prefortis clipping means the shortening of vowel sound before voiceless consonants. For example, the vowel in bad is much longer than the vowel in bat. This change in vowel duration subtly helps listeners of English to determine which sound was spoken. Compare the following sentences. He hit me. He hid me. I have a big pen. I have a big pen. The vowel sounds of hit and bic are shorter than those of hid and big due to the Prefortis clipping. These are examples of minimal pairs where two words differ only in the voicing of the ending sound. One is voiced and the other is not voiced. For this reason, they differ in vowel length. Phase, face. Buzz, bus. Save, safe. Leave, leaf. Miss, miss. Eyes, ice. Sing, sink. Felled, felt. Lab, lap. Made, mate. Said, set. Lied, light. Bold, bolt. Wers, worse. Laws, loss. Pained, paint. Need, neat. Ones, once. Falls, false. Now that we have examined the three criteria for consonant classification, we are ready to study individual consonant phoneme sounds. Like vowels, consonants that are pronounced by the same manner or at proximal distance can sound similar and thus can be difficult to discern. So in this course we focus on groups of sounds that are similar in some aspects. We begin with plosives.